Indians had the game in their grasp, but the middle of the Tigers lineup did them in once again. This time it was J.D. Martinez who hit his league-leading 7th home run in the 9th inning this season off Tribe closer Cody Allen. Martinez, signed by Detroit on March 24th, is hitting .464 with 5 home runs at Progressive Field this season. Danny Salazar will try to slow down those Tiger bats next on Sports Time Ohio. Progressive Field in downtown Cleveland. In the last 2 nights, the Detroit Tigers have made themselves right at home. They've evened up the season series at 7 apiece. The Indians now desperate for a win. Get ready for Game 3 in this 4-game tilt. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. We know the Tigers have a good middle of the lineup. We've known Miguel Cabrera for years can mash the baseball. But what they are getting this year is incredible protection behind them from Victor Martinez and J.D. Martinez, and it makes it tough to pitch around Cabrera.
Well, when you look at the 3, 4, 5, Cabrera always hits here. He has the most home runs of any visiting player in this ballpark. Then you put a switch hitter in there. The guy, by the way, is second in the league in hitting behind him, and then a right-hander they signed in the spring that has been dominant in this ballpark. 3, 4, 5, they have really hurt the Indians this year. They have 16 hits in the first 2 games of this series, and you can see 34 RBI so far this year. The Indians are going to have to try to find a way to control them, maybe pitch them inside, knock them back off the plate, and they're going to have to find a way to score some runs too.
Therein lies the rub, because the Indians haven't done much of that. Only 3 runs for the Tribe in the first 2 games of this series. Danny Salazar gets the call tonight, and he'll try to slow down those Tiger bats, and we'll see if the Indians bats wake up here this evening. The play-by-play is next. McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. Buy Paninis. Get overstuffed at Panini's Bar and Grill. And buy Jeep. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. And we welcome you into Progressive Field as the Indians and Tigers resume this four-game series tonight, Game 3. And Danny Salazar on the hill for Cleveland. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for Brad Ausmus and the Tigers, brought to you by Toyota. Ian Kinsler at the top, followed by Torrey Hunter. Then Miguel Cabrera batting third. Victor Martinez cleanup. J.D. Martinez batting fifth. He's made himself right at home here in Cleveland. Nick Castellanos sixth. Then it's Eugenio Suarez, Brian Holiday, and Rajay Davis.
Our GMC starting pitcher, Danny Salazar, will be making his 16th start this year. His record is 5-6. His ERA is 4.23. He'll be making his second start against the Tigers. He lost his first one. That was way back in April 17th. That was in Detroit. Left trailing that game 5-3. But in his last start at Kansas City, he got the win, went 5 innings, and gave up 4 hits to not allow a run. And then, of course, rain shortened that outing for Danny. Let's set the defense behind him tonight. That'll be our Kia defense. In the outfield, it'll be Brantley on left, BOURN is in center, Walters in right, Chisenhall at third, Ramirez at short, Kipnis is at second, Santana at first, with Yan Gomes doing the catching.
Tom Woodring behind the plate tonight. Chad Fairchild at first, Adrian Johnson second, and crew chief Mike Everett down at third. Ian Kinsler will lead it off. He's hit in 6 straight for the Tigers. Not much of a breeze at all. The game time temperature is, or the game time conditions, I should say, are absolutely ideal. A little bit inside, ball one.
Yeah, it seems like it's much cooler tonight than what it was yesterday and Monday.
They tell us the game time temperature is 78 degrees. And Kinsler lines one into center field for a base hit. Keys to the game are brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Need some O against the D of Detroit, and for the Indians offensively, try to work that pitch count of Justin Verlander.
This is a Detroit team that in the first 2 games, 35 hits. They have been aggressive. They attacked that fastball early.
Off the foot of Hunter.
That can't feel too good. Right off the front foot, it sounded like a thud. It sounded like it hit home plate.
Oh, that was right on the ball of the foot, where that's the last place I think you want to hit a baseball.
Yep, and you know what? It's going to be sore, but it won't be sore till tomorrow. I mean real sore. He's just trying to take some time to get some feeling back in.
Ripped hard to third. Chisenhall to second. There's one on to first. Double play. Torrey Hunter hit it right on the screws, but right into the tracks of Lonnie Chisenhall, who's able to go around the horn, and the Indians get a double play.
Yeah, it was the breaking ball. It was the slider, and it was hit sharply, but there's Chisenhall to grab it. Plenty of time to turn it, and Hunter had to run down the line after that front foot was awfully sore. So they get the double play.
Miguel Cabrera. Swing and a miss. Tell you one thing, and we've alluded to the fact that Cabrera's not healthy. He's had a bad ankle. And you remember last year he had the leg ailment, and he couldn't hardly run at all. And yet, he was still out there at first base almost every night. So for him to not be at first base tells you that thing really is a problem for him.
No question.
But
it was
hasn't
almost like the
affected
hernia.
his ability to hit.
This guy,
running's different.
He could get out of bed and hit. He's the best hitter in baseball. I mean, this guy, you look at his numbers and say they're down because he's been injured. He's got 94 RBIs, 19 homers, hitting over 300. So, I mean, how hurt can you be for the normal person?
Fourth in ribbies, leads the league in doubles.
Yeah, leads the league. He's, 86 runs scored, fourth there. He's done it all. And he can't run. He scored 86.
Off the end of the back, shallow right, late jump, and that's going to drop in for a hit. I don't think Walters could have gotten there anyway.
This is where you go like this. Look, I just made an outstanding pitch on him, and he still gets a base hit. This is a slider from Danny Salazar, and it was probably off the plate. Let's check it out on our Nissan pitch tracker. It's off the plate. Might have been up a little bit, but he still had to reach for it. And still gets enough right off the end of the bat, but strong enough to get a knock.
He was talking to it, coaxing it down.
Well, he shouldn't have to. He shouldn't be allowed hits like that. He hits them hard all the time. Look at Salazar. That's all you could do.
That's because Cabrera was talking to him. One thing about Miguel Cabrera, he's always animated on the ball field.
Well, he makes it look so easy. So it's easy for him to talk. For most people, it's not that way.
Well, Rick, for years we had heard stories in the NBA about how much of a trash talker Larry Bird and Michael Jordan were when we were talking about two of the best players of their eras, and yet the average fan, they weren't privy to that, but those guys talked a lot of junk on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I bring that up because I think sometimes the best players are the most competitive, and that's what makes them great.
That's what, that gives them that edge. He talks to everybody. I don't care who you are. He'll talk to coaches, benches.
1-1 pitch. Shattered the bat of Victor Martinez, and Michael Bourne will make the catch. No runs, 2 hits, 1 man left. The Indians are coming to bat when we come back. Terry Francona's starting lineup looks like this tonight for the Tribe, brought to you by Progressive. Michael Bourne at the top, Jose Ramirez, then Michael Brantley, Carlos Santana, Jason Kipnis, and Lonnie Chisenhall. Yan Gomes, Jason Giambi in the starting lineup tonight, DHing and batting 8th, and then Zach Walters will hit 9th.
GMC starting pitcher Justin Verlander. Verlander, his 28th start this year. He's 12-11, a 468 high for him. He's given up the 6th most hits, 188. The most runs, 98 in baseball. 60 walks, 132 strikeouts. He's 18-15 lifetime against the Indians. And in this ballpark, 9-11 in his 22 outings so far. So the Indians, they've always had a pretty good approach against Justin Verlander.
.90 miles an hour and a first pitch strike to Michael Bourn. Down low with it, 1-1. I think it'll be interesting to see, Rick, can Justin Verlander evolve as a pitcher? He's always had quality secondary pitches. He's never been just a fastball guy. So as he loses his velocity, and that's been pretty evident, part of his problem this year, in addition to the shoulder soreness, but if that velocity dip is permanent, can he make the necessary adjustments and still be a front-of-the-rotation pitcher? Because that's what they're paying him to be.
No question about it. And we'll see. I mean, only time will tell. I mean, sometimes you have to put your ego aside. I don't think he has to yet. But he's a guy that, has gone out there and he has just pure stuff. I find it hard to believe this year right-handers are hitting .333 against him. Left-handers are hitting .233, 100 points difference. Now, the Indians have 8 left-handers in their lineup, but because they're predominantly a left-handed hitting ball club. But I want to know why the right-handers are hitting so well off him.
2 balls, 2 strikes. I just know how long ago was it? About a month ago when he had the scare with the shoulder. I watched the post-game interview he did. You could see in his face he was concerned.
Right.
Having the MRI done. That ball's hit pretty well. Left center field. Rajai Davis on the run. What a catch. He just took extra bases away from Michael Bourn. 1 down here in the first.
Boy, he sure did. He outran the baseball. Excellent play there by Rajai Davis. I thought it was going to drop. I didn't think he was going to get there. And then at the last minute, he didn't hesitate. He didn't stick the arm out. He went out until he made his last step, put the glove out, slides. That's a fine running catch right there to take a double at least away from Michael Bourn.
That'll leave you a little upset.
Yeah, it will. You're thinking you've got a double to start the game off right.
Jose Ramirez, 0 for 8 in the series. And there's a line drive to left field, a base hit. So Ramirez aboard with 1 out here in the first.
Let's check the Kia Tigers defense behind Verlander tonight. It'll be Martinez in left, Davis is in center, Hunter over in right, Castellanos at third, Suarez at short, KINSLER is at second, Victor Martinez at first, Holiday behind the plate.
Michael Brantley taking a strike. Said it was, thought it was about a month ago. It was August the 11th. That's when Verlander had a start in Pittsburgh against the Pirates. He pitched only 1 inning. And he was getting whacked around. He'd given up 5 runs, 4 hits, walked 2. He had struck out 3. But Brad Ausmus could tell there was just something wrong. He threw 40 pitches, and he actually went up to bat in the second inning. And then Ausmus said, that's it. And after the game, Verlander said, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little nervous because, quote, I've never been through anything like this before. But the MRI came back clean, so to speak. I mean, no pitcher's going to have a clean MRI.
No.
I guess they've all got.
Not as many years as this guy's pitched.
But no structural damage, and so he skipped him a turn through the rotation. He ended up going on 12 days rest his next time out against Minnesota. And he went 5 2/3, gave up 4 runs on 8 hits in that game. But his last start against Chicago, he went 7 and only allowed 1 run.
And that's a divisional foe that the White Sox have had their success against him in the career, too, as the Indians have. So this is the teams in your division a little tougher to pitch against, I would think.
Michael Brantley in an 0-2 hole here. Outside. Rick, as a hitter, what does that do for you when you're facing a guy who in the past you knew in the back of your mind he could dial it up at any moment to 95, 96, 97 miles an hour?
Well, that's
as a hitter, if you know he doesn't have that, what does that do for you?
Well, it should give you a little more confidence when you realize maybe he can't throw it by you at 96 or 97, and you can maybe look for some off-speed pitches a little more. Brantley's always had a lot of success against Verlander. So when you just said 0-2, I said to myself, I don't think Michael's concerned here because he has confidence against this guy. You know, if he proves in that first at-bat that he's going to dial it up and throw it by you, well, then you'll have to make an adjustment as a hitter.
Ramirez takes off swinging a miss. Brantley down on strikes. A rare strikeout for Michael Brantley.
He was fooled on that breaking ball. That was a good curveball. He was tardy getting there.
Only the 50th strikeout this year for Brantley.
Well, he had a good jump. Holiday didn't have a good grip. He's not going to throw it. There you go. They get the stolen base. Michael strikes out. 2 outs now. It'll give Santana an opportunity.
Carlos Santana's had mixed results against Verlander. He only has 8 hits in 40 career at-bats, but of those 8 hits, 4 have left the yard. So when he has connected off this right-handed starter, he's been able to take him deep. One ball, 1 strike. One of the tough things to figure with Santana this year, and it's probably not anything that you could put your finger on or easily come to a conclusion as to why, but he's batted 64 points lower at home than on the road this year. That's a huge difference for a guy like him.
Hard to figure out. Tell you another thing we want to watch with Verlander. You talk about the velocity being down and everything. Let's check him out tonight and see how many secondary pitches he throws. The changeups, the curveballs, and he's thrown a lot.
But we've seen that in the past, even when he's had good velocity. And I think it goes back to your point. These guys have seen him so many times, he knows he's always constantly trying to adjust.
Yes, he is. I always used to sit back and shake my head and say, with his fastball, why is he messing around throwing so many changeups to these guys?
Santana tees off, deep right field. Hunter's out of room. It's out of here. And the Indians strike in the first again. Second straight game. It's a 2-run homer by Carlos Santana, and it stakes Cleveland to a 2-0 lead.
Well, Santana's been magic in the first inning so far in this series. He picked it on a changeup here from Verlander. It's the 17th home run given up by Justin Verlander. And for Santana, look at the changeup. High, out over the plate. He gives him some swinging room, and he takes it deep.
And how about 5 career homers in 9 hits for Santana against Justin Verlander?
Love it.
Boy, after last night, that's exactly what this club needed here tonight, to come out and get right back on the board early.
He had the 2-run home run in the first inning last night, and then they had the RBI double in game 1. There you go. There's the changeup.
Now, Justin Verlander gets taken deep by Santana, and then what does he do to Jason Kipnis? He buzzes him up and in. J.D. Martinez makes a fine running backhanded catch to end the inning. But the Tribe gets on the board here in the first on a Carlos Santana 2-out, 2-run homer. 2-0 Cleveland. Indians baseball is brought to you by your Northern Ohio Honda dealers, by the Cleveland Clinic. Call today for an appointment today. And by the Northeast Ohio Ford dealers. Now Carlos Santana goes deep for the Tribe to get them on the board here in the first inning. Now we go to the second. And J.D. Martinez will lead off for Detroit.
Well, this has been one tough out for Indians pitching, especially in this ballpark.
J.D. Martinez, 5 for 9 in the series with the 2 home runs on the year.
Look at that.
And had Progressive Field. He's been
incredible.
pretty good.
He should ask to get traded here so he could hit here for 80 home games the way he's putting up numbers.
I think it's pretty amazing that of his 19 home runs this year, 7 have come in the 9th inning, and that's the most in all of Major League Baseball.
You know, and you have to think that it benefits him to hit in this lineup behind the Cabreras, the Martinez, the guys that are always on base, and they have to pitch to him.
Swing and a miss, good. Slider by Salazar. And that's his first strikeout, one down here in the second. Not only that, but think about mentally what you have to do to get through Cabrera, then Victor Martinez. You might be a little exhausted, so you might think, okay, I can just get me over one. Boom. And this guy.
No kidding. That can happen. That was, you know, it's hard for us sometimes to tell with Salazar whether it's a slider or a changeup, but they both come out, it seems like, the same way.
But at least we know now why. And Katie Witham had that great interview with Danny, and he showed her how he throws that changeup, and he doesn't turn it over like a changeup. He throws it more like a traditional breaking ball. But because of the grip, it's almost like a changeup grip. It's just really unusual. I've never seen another pitcher throw
but when he
something
throws
called a changeup like that.
Yeah, the way he finishes it off. But
that split type grip.
But when he throws it properly or correctly, or when he has the feel for it, it goes down and into the right-hander or away from the left-handers. But you'll see it.
Sometimes it goes the other way, though.
Yes, it does.
I'm sure it has hitters going back to the dugout sometimes scratching their head like, what was that?
Because there's times we see him throw a pitch and we think he gets under it, and it's a slider, and it could be that changeup.
Swing and a miss. It's 2-2. If not for Jose Abreu, Nick Castellanos would be getting a lot of consideration, I'm sure, for American League Rookie of the Year. But Abreu has simply run away with it.
Yeah.
There is no contest.
No, you're right. It's a slam dunk. This guy is he's fit in very well over there at third base. It's a good year, and it's a rookie year for him. 10 homers, 57 RBIs.
With Danny Salazar sharp, strikes out Castellanos, back-to-back Ks, 2 down in the second.
There
All right,
you
so
go.
that's the grip he uses for his changeup. Now, it looks like a traditional changeup, and that's the way you would throw it. But in his case,
he throws it
that way, which...
Yeah, and he's telling Katie how it rolls out of his hand. And sometimes I think if you get more pressure on your middle finger, that's when it goes like the slider. That was done in Kansas City. That was good. And didn't he say Bauer was trying to learn that grip as well? Trying to get a feel for it to see it, and he wanted to try it. He did, because he went and looked at Kluber's slider.
Doesn't surprise me.
No.
Trevor will try anything.
I know it. Salazar said, now Kluber,
he has an insatiable quest for knowledge when it comes to pitching. He wants to know everything there is.
Why not? Well, how many times have you heard kids say, well, I want to go in there, I want to pick his brains and see what's going on? Well, if you like something that one person does, why not pick his brain and maybe try it? Nothing wrong with it. Who's to say you have to have your own grip or your own feel for it?
Outside corner, call it a strike, 2-2.
You're all in the same fraternity.
Oh, I'm sure that's not uncommon among pitchers and on staffs to say, how do you grip
the Rivera cutter in New York?
They're a great example. Hit hard to third. Chisenhall scoops it up again. Flips it over. 1-2-3 go the Tigers here in the second. Cleveland 2, Detroit 0. 2-0 in favor of the Indians as we go to the bottom of the second, and Lonnie Chisenhall will lead it off for Cleveland. Lonnie takes a strike. Lonnie Chisenhall had his 8-game hitting streak snapped yesterday. Now the 1-1. Caught the corner, says home plate umpire Tom Woodring. Lonnie with 2 strikes, batting .246. That's actually 12th best in all of the American League. But this time Ian Kinsler scoops it up with a backhand, and Chisenhall is out number 1. Let's go downstairs and bring in Katie Witham. Katie, we know the Indians offensively have had their moments this year. 67 out of 137 games, they've scored 3 runs or less, including 9 times in the last 12 ball games. Are they panicking about the offense right now?
I don't think they're panicking yet, but everything is always a little more glaring in those tight games. Matt, Terry Francona earlier today explained what he's seen and what he still needs to see from his offense in our Hear Right Audiology Sounds of the Game.
I mean, I do think we've played a lot of, you're right, a lot of close games. There's other times when, you know, you're not hitting on all cylinders, and we're the type of team that really has to keep a line moving. That's when we're the best, you know, because we don't hit a ton of 3-run homers.
Yan Gomes smashes it to short. Eugenio Suarez will throw him out 2 down. Keep the line moving is a common theme you hear in baseball. That's how you get rallies going. That's how you have big innings. But it's tough to make a living when that's your offensive philosophy.
Well, it is. But when you don't have guys, I mean, the Indians have guys that'll hit home runs, just not a lot of them. And when they say keep the line moving, it's take your walks, it's move runners. Situational baseball has to be at its finest. And that has ups and downs. You know, you have to move runners. You got to get them in. You know, even if you play some small ball. They've been playing a lot of small ball lately. But getting the key hits is the big thing. The 2-out RBIs and hitting with runners in scoring position is vital for teams like that.
And that's what has been missing, at least in the first 2 games. Now, granted, they got their doors blown off in Game 1. But they've left 20 men on base in the first 2 games of the series. So they've had their fair share of run-scoring opportunities, but haven't been able to cash in.
Well, that's the thing. When you have opportunities, when you don't get that hit early and you don't have any one guy you can rely on, which is very difficult to do, it seems like they press more and more, and you try and do more than you're capable of doing, and that's where the team has to relax. And I think that's why if they get ahead early and they get the lead, it makes it a little easier for them, or it takes a little bit of that pressure away from them, I should say.
2 balls and 2 strikes with 2 down, bases empty here in the second. Verlander went in with a fastball. Giambi couldn't find it, and it was out of play to the left. Jason 3 times on the disabled list this year, and over the course of those 3 stints, he has missed 102 games all told this year. But even with all that missed time, he steps in the box. He's still got that quick bat.
Oh, thing of beauty.
Line to left. Martinez won't get there, and Jason Giambi has a 2-out single here in the second inning. I mean, most guys, if they missed 102 games, what did he go out on? 2 rehab games?
Yeah,
Played
he
a
didn't
couple
play
of rehab
much.
games, and He just comes right back and swings.
That's the old curveball coming in up from Verlander. It gets down on the trademark, takes it the other way, bloops it in there. We'll take it. 2-out single.
So Giambi aboard for Zach Walters. Zach has homered 6 times since coming to the Indians. 4 of those home runs have given the Indians the lead. The other 2 have tied games. And a foul back. Walters has done most of his playing at the DH spot, but he's been getting back in the field. This is his 4th start in the outfield, and he's in right field tonight. Up high. Giambi at first with 2 down in the second. And that'll even the count at 2-2. Good fastball, and he's still got it. Throws it by Walters to get the 3rd out here in the 2nd inning. It's Cleveland 2, Detroit nothing.
Well, follow every Indians game through season's end with MLB.com at bat. That's the #1 app for live baseball on your smartphone or tablet. You can get live look-ins, replay reviews, scores, stats, live radio broadcasts, and more. Download At Bat on the App Store, or you can visit Indians.com today.
Ryan Holiday is going to lead off for Detroit.
He had to come into last night's game. Alex Avila got knocked out of the game.
How about that? Holiday smacks one right up the middle. That snaps an 0 for 10 slump for him. And the Tigers get their leadoff man aboard for the second time in 3 innings.
We watched this foul tip last night. And boy, I mean, he went down and directly left. And we have seen him a number of times over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, man, against us, has left ball games because of things like this. So Holiday gets the start tonight and promptly gets a base hit.
At the knees, outside corner. Rajai Davis has hit in 5 straight games. In the air to center field, and Michael Bourn cruising into the gap makes the catch, 1 away. Hey fans, don't forget to tweet your photos to us using the hashtag STOFanPhoto for a chance to have one of your pictures shown during our telecast this year. It's all courtesy of AT&T. Ian Kinsler singled right up the middle his first time up. Takes a strike.
Now Kinsler, a very good fastball hitter. He drilled the second pitch for a base hit. I think that's why Danny started him off with the slider this time. It's a good pitch right there. That is a pretty good pitch. Yeah, I mean, take a look on this Nissan pitch tracker. He's a fastball hitter, and after throwing that slider, wow, is that inside? Oof. I didn't think it was low.
Fouled back by Kinsler, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Brian Holiday, who came in for Alex Avila last night, getting the start here this evening. Avila, after the ballgame, said he was fine. And reporters that were there said he looked fine. But his manager, Brad Ausmus, said, I didn't like the way he was giving answers to our trainer when we were out on the field. He seemed a little woozy. That's why they took him out. Avila said afterwards, quote, it definitely rung my bell. I was a little dizzy out there, and I think that's probably the main reason why they took me out. Once I got in the clubhouse and started icing, everything started to feel much better. And Ausmus is a former catcher, so he's got a pretty good feel for matters like that, I would assume.
Well, you made a good point last night that a lot of people don't think about. You know, back in the day, before this concussion thing became the big issue that it is, those guys would have sucked it up, stayed back there, wouldn't have come out of the game and said, all right, just go on in there. And you really don't know the kind of damage that, you know, takes place.
Now, how many times the Ron Bando, the Ron Hasseys, the Sal Bandos would have just played right through those kind of things?
A lot of guys, the free hands, you know, the former Tiger catcher,
Sandy Alomar,
Fisk, Munson, Alomar.
Kipnis goes to second. There's one. Ramirez turns two. Second time today. The Indians turn a double play to wipe out a potential Tiger rally. We'll go to the bottom of the third. Cleveland 2, Detroit 0. Wow, what a gorgeous sky at sunset here in downtown Cleveland.
Wow, looks fake.
And a reminder, as you look at that beautiful sunset, that it might not be a bad time to enjoy some Miller time. And we'll have Miller time coming up later in the game. Michael Bourn, Jose Ramirez, Michael Brantley for the Tribe here in inning number 3. Bourn was robbed of a hit on a nice play in center field by Rajay Davis in the first. Bunts. Barehand grab, throw by Castellanos, and it got him by about a quarter of a step. I mean, Michael's foot was in the air. He was about to land on the bag when the ball made it into Victor Martinez's glove.
That was a good play all the way around. I thought it was a good bunt by Michael Bourn. I thought it was a very good play by Castellanos. He comes in and watch him throw underhand. And it's right on the money. Victor stretches, and he does get him by a half a step. That is a good play all the way around. I like Michael Bourn trying to be the leadoff man and get on there and get something started. Goes to the bare hand. Look at it. He had a very good grip with the baseball. And he's a big dude now to get up and in one motion, throw it underneath and right on target.
Jose Ramirez had a good at bat his first time up. He slapped a single to left field, stole second, and then came around on the home run by Carlos Santana. Oh, that one nailed the umpire. Went right over Holliday's head.
Well, he
heard it hit home plate umpire Tom Woodring.
He's smiling about it, so obviously it.
Whatever got him on the shoulder pad, not the mask.
Yeah. Oh, good call. He can smile about that. It still had to hurt.
Going to the left again, but Ramirez is foul with this one. Jose in his last 18 games has batted .314 with 9 runs scored and 7 runs batted in. Now the 2-2. Another foul back. Slap to left, but right there is Martinez to grab it. 2 down.
Well, he got his first base hit that way, and that was right into the strength of the defense that time.
You can always have the latest information on the Indians right at your fingertips. Follow Tribe reporter Joe Reedy from FoxSportsOhio.com on Twitter at Joe Reedy for the latest news and stories on your favorite team. 2 gone for Michael Brantley, who struck out his only time up. Smacked right back to Verlander. And the Tigers pitcher flips it to first to end the inning. We've played 3. It's the Indians 2 and the Tigers nothing. At the outset, ball hit hard, but Lonnie Chisnall goes around the horn to turn 2. That was in the first inning. Then in the third, Ian Kinsler tries Jason Kipnis to no avail as the Indians turn 2 to end the third inning.
Love those double plays.
Torrey Hunter.
Indians have turned 9 double plays in the last couple of games. Last 4 games.
2-0 the count here on Hunter. Just a smooth, easy 94, and it just exploded past Torrey Hunter. Same pitch, same result. This one,
well,
with a little more mustard on it.
That's a zone where you could probably throw it again and get him to swing and miss. He's got that little slight uppercut, and that has a little fur to it. That ball gets by you in a hurry. That was down just a hair.
Torrey Hunter in the first inning, if you joined us late, fouled the ball off the top of his left foot. And it looked like he was in considerable pain at the time. Already 25 out of his 42 pitches have been mid-90s or above. Chopped to third. Lonnie Chisnall's been busy tonight. That's his third assist already. Our great clip of the game from last night. Boy, Carlos Carrasco, what was lost in the heartbreak of last night's defeat was how well he pitched in 5 1/3 innings, struck out 10 batters, gave up just 1 run, and pitched out of jam after jam after jam.
That was amazing. Truly was. I mean, they had opportunities to have at least 5 on the board, but he really, you will not see that too often. Look at this guy.
Another hit for
Magic
Cabrera.
wand. But I mean, it was high enough to get it over the head of Santana.
You start wondering, I know the guy's good, but how much of this is just
watch
good fortune as well? I mean,
it's a little slider.
Because think about it, Rick. Both of his hits tonight neither one's been barreled off the end of the bat. Both of them.
Okay, you can't help but laugh. I mean, he's made 2 good pitches, and the guy's 2 for 2.
Victor breaks his bat and flies out to center field. Martinez and Cabrera, he's 2 for 2 already tonight.
Well, that's just the kind of hitter he is and the kind of numbers he's put up against the Indians in his career. Better to hold him to a single like that than a long ball or a double in the gap. And that's one of the things as a starting pitcher, you keep it off the barrel of the bat. He hit it off the end both times. The guy's got 2 hits. What can you do? Cabrera already 8 hits in the series now.
Hit to right field. This is a base hit. Cabrera will. Oh, it's misplayed by Walters. Cabrera will go to third. Victor will slide in safely to second base.
Well,
so
that's
it'll be a hit and an
unfortunate.
error as the Tigers are now set up here in the 4th.
That's unfortunate because it would have been first and second with 1 out. Now with the error, it's second and third. And it was just an easy routine play for Walters. I don't know if he took his eye off it. Let's take a look. I mean, it's a ball up in the zone that Victor turns on. And Cabrera stopped at second. And it just bounced off his glove. And that made Martinez go to second. He almost tried to stop because he didn't think Cabrera was going to go to third. What happened here? I don't know if he took his eye off it, hit the heel of the glove, kicked off. So an error. Now Detroit with a chance to get on the board.
J.D. Martinez struck out his first time up. Popped back out of play. Again, the Tigers aggressive early in the count. Just as they were early in the game last night against Carrasco. Got him to chase that slider, and it's 0-2.
Well, now you got an opportunity to go for that punch out again. We said that about Carrasco last night. Salazar has that same opportunity. Has him down in the count 0-2. You don't worry. Don't give in. This guy has hurt you, the Indians, this year. In the back of your mind, you say, I still have first base open. So you don't have to give him anything to hit. Get him to chase your pitch. Good
Strike
catch.
3 called.
Great pitch.
96 on the fastball for out number 2.
That's one step in picking up your defense right there. Tremendous. He wasted no time.
Third strikeout for Salazar.
I mean, you go on the outside, you dot the I. Perfect pitch by Salazar. He couldn't pull the trigger. One more step to go.
Nick Castellanos struck out his first time up. Breaking ball hit to short.
Well done.
Ramirez throws him out, and the inning is over. Salazar works out of trouble for the first time tonight. 2-0 Cleveland, middle of the 4th. Out of the game, brought to you by Buick. Last night marked the first time ever to have two pitchers go less than 6 innings and both strike out 10.
Yeah, that was a weird game. They both pitched well. They both had their share of base runners. And they both had the strikeout pitch working.
Well, you know, it's the nature of the pennant race in baseball. No surprise that when you woke up today, throughout northeastern Ohio, everybody was ready to throw in the towel and upset and sick to their stomach last night at the way the game ended. But for the players, you got to turn around and put that behind you because there's another game to play. And
right.
two big games for this team against the Tigers before this series is over. And then they get 3 more cracks at Detroit on the next road trip.
You know, it's pretty much how the
that almost took out half the press corps.
That was hunting a werewolf. It scared them.
Well, it's because you're not paying attention to the game.
That's right. They don't pay attention. They're over there talking too much.
Less jaw flapping, more eyeball watching. Come on. Curve in for a strike. It's 1-2. Got him. Verlander with his 3rd strikeout. He is set down 5 straight, and we'll send it out to Al Pulaski for a Mazda game break.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Rick. Jays and Rays tonight at the Trop. Yonder Navarro here, a 2-run homer to right. That's been the only score thus far. It's 2-0 Blue Jays on his 12th home run of the season, 3rd inning at St. Petersburg. Back to you, Matt.
All right, here's Jason Kipnis now. Fly to left in the first. Takes upstairs, ball 1.
Yeah, Martinez made a pretty good catch on that ball that Kipnis hit to left field, too, and a running catch.
From your experience, when you have a kick in the gut loss like last night, do you, when you're a player, when you're in that clubhouse and you're dealing with it, do you leave it at the ballpark? Do you just wake up the next morning and then it's gone? Do you bring it home?
No,
I mean, how quickly do you have to get over it when you're in that player's?
Look, it was a great game. I mean, it turned out, you know, Cody Allen came back second time, gave up a home run. There's nothing you can do. He went out, maybe made a mistake. The guy hit a home run. Okay, good game. Now you've got 2 more games. I think you let it stay at that clubhouse, talk whatever you have to talk out of your system. When you get ready to go home, start thinking about tomorrow's game and get it out of your mind. There's nothing you can do about it. Think about it. If you have any questions or talk to anybody you have to talk to, what could we have done to make it better, and then move on.
You always hear about, I think it's in football, they talk about the 24-hour rule. Whether you win or lose, you win, you celebrate it for 24 hours. If you lose, you fester about it for 24 hours, and then you put it away and you move forward. But in baseball, you don't have the luxury of that 24 hours.
There's no such thing. You've got to talk about it. For me, I believe you've got to talk about it now. You don't let it go down the road. Right while it's fresh in your mind, you can get it done. And what can I do to do better? Or you enjoy what you did, that you did very well, and you move on. You come back, you still have tonight, tomorrow. If you win the next 2 games, people are living pretty good. They're feeling good about themselves. You know, and now Detroit walks away feeling bad. It's a tough game.
We didn't talk about it enough last night. We only talked for 4 hours, but I drove home. I was still mad driving home last night.
I was tired in the 5th inning of that ball game because of the base runners and the strikeouts. It was exciting. It was fun game to do. Just lasted a little too long.
Yeah. Yeah, just shy of 4 hours last night.
I didn't feel bad about it.
You didn't?
No, I didn't feel. I wanted them to win. Yeah, I felt bad they didn't win, but no, I didn't feel bad about it because there was great effort put forth by both teams, and that's all you can ask.
Look at you with the great perspective.
I mean, that's what happens when you're playing. You asked me when you were a player, do you let it fester? What do you think about? No, I thought it was a very good baseball game. If I'm a fan watching that one and sitting at home, and you watch a guy hit a 3-run homer to come back and snatch it back, I think that's a great game. If you're not rooting for any team.
If you don't have a rooting interest, that was good theater.
That's my point.
Yep.
Take out the rooting interest and tell me about the ball game. And that's what we have to do most of the time. We should have done that last night.
Yeah. Sucked me in last night. I was in the vortex.
I hear you because of the importance of the game. You know, when you're getting down into September and you're down to 27, 26 games, every game and every out is so much more magnified. Now, if it's in June, you say, no big deal, let's go. But it's not June anymore.
No balls, 2 strikes for Lonnie Chisenhall as he awaits Justin Verlander with 1 on, 1 out. Up and away.
I will say this, though. This is the time and the type of a game where they have the lead early. You better start finding a way to add on. If Salazar can continue to go out and throw another 0, find a way to score. Don't stay at 2-0 and let this team be within striking distance again.
Outside, he missed 2-2.
Find a way to get one more across. And then when you're done there, do it again.
"36 of the 58 pitches for Verlander have been strikes, but he's missed with 3 straight now, and from 0-2 to 3-2 for Lonnie Chisenhall. And we'll see if Jason Kipnis, I got to believe he's going here.
He's got to be running. Yes, indeed. You have 1 out. Let's go. Start the runner. Maybe Chisenhall can find a gap.
Got to be leery of Verlander. He's got quick feet, though, on that mound.
That he does.
Well, Kipnis holds, and Chisenhall rifles it into right field. Down into the corner it goes. Torrey Hunter has a long run to get after it. Picks it up bare hand. Throws. Kipnis coming around third. Throw to the plate. Save! Ball gets by Verlander. To the backstop. Coming around third, Chisenhall. And he puts on the brakes. Verlander finally ran it down. They look like kids trying to catch a greased hog. That ball was flying all over the yard. And the Indians extend their lead to 3-0 on the RBI double by Lonnie Chisenhall. Or will they give him a triple?
I think it's a double. It's a double and the error. And he didn't have Kipnis running. Surprises me because Chisenhall went down and hit a changeup into the corner. Watch how close it is at home plate. And once the ball gets by, here's where your error is. They didn't even think about Chisenhall. They were going at Kipnis at the plate. Verlander fell down, and he's got to really motor to score. But they get that run across, and with the error that the ball gets past Holiday, the catcher, Chisenhall goes to third. You got a chance for another run here and put a crooked number on the board.
And I'll say this for Jason Kipnis as the Tigers bring the infield in now with 1 out. As Yan Gomes stands in. Blooped. Shallow right. Martinez back to the plate. Kinsler over. Nobody makes the play. It's a fair ball. And Chisenhall scores to make it 4-0. That'll be a bloop RBI single for Yan Gomes. We talked about Miguel Cabrera and his magic act tonight. How about that ball off the bat of Yan Gomes?
I was just going to ask you, how does that one turn out now? That had to be hit 20, 30 feet? This is going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. Because that's not only breakfast, that's dessert to go with it right there with the RBI. It falls in beautifully. Chisenhall scores. That's a great way to get a hit, an RBI. Martinez with his back to the infield.
Looks like a play where maybe, in hindsight, Kinsler probably should have taken charge. I don't think he was sure, though, either.
Didn't you say the infield was in?
Yeah.
There you go. That's why he couldn't get there. If he's back, it's an easy out for Kinsler, but he was playing in, and that's why the ball fell.
Giambi off the end of the bat right back to the mound. And the Tigers will easily turn 2 to get out of the inning. But the Tribe gets 2 more on the board, and after 4, it's the Indians 4 and the Tigers nothing.
One game left with the Tigers in town, but there are still great seats available for tomorrow night's game. You can get them for as low as $10. Log on to Indians.com right now. And then afterwards, live from center field right here on our brand new desk, we have Indians Live, sponsored by Conrad's, Tire Express, and Total Car Care. Anything that you missed, Alan Jason will get you updated. For now, though, we'll send it back up to the booth with Matt and Rick.
Thanks a lot, Katie. The Indians now have a 4-0 lead as we go to the 5th inning. And it's the bottom third of the Tigers' order coming up. Danny Salazar has thrown 29 pitches in excess of 95 miles an hour tonight. 21 of those have been for strikes. So that's the good news. He's commanding his fastball at that high velocity.
They did the same thing for him in his last start in Kansas City, gave him a 4-0 lead. You know, unfortunately in that start he could only go the 5 innings because remember we had about the 45-minute rain delay.
That's right.
44 minutes. He was going to come back out, never did, and so he only went 5. But they gave him a 4-0 lead.
Well, that's another kind of bizarre stat with regards to Danny Salazar.
What, that one with his last start as far as the innings go?
Down the line foul. Well, I mean, 5 innings isn't that big a deal. I mean, you think about it as a starting pitcher, you think 6, 7 innings for sure.
Right.
If you go 7, chances are you think, okay, you're going to be pretty successful.
You give your team an opportunity to win and you turn it over to the good part of the bullpen.
This year, Danny's had 10 starts where he's pitched at least 5 innings, which, as I said, isn't a lot. But in those 10 starts, he's 5-1 with a 2.48 ERA, and the Indians are 8-2. When he fails to make it through 5, not surprisingly, he's 0-7.
Right.
But his ERA is 6.69.
Well, get him some runs early. He'll settle in, and he's given up 5 hits. But, you know, you look at the couple Cabrera has, a couple of good pitches. I like the way he's throwing the ball. He's been back here. His last few starts been pretty good. I like the way he's
pitching.
Yeah. He's letting it go, man. He's got good stuff.
He's using his fastball, but he's pitching more. You could see whether it's the maturation of he or just his maybe better understanding of the scouting report and what they want to do against certain hitters, but he's going to that off-speed pitch more in good spots, and it's working for him.
And he's not afraid to use that heater, and he never should be.
It goes back to the philosophy, and I don't remember who it was that first told me this, but every pitch should have a purpose. You know, that sounds like duh,
Look at
right?
that. I love that first pitch out.
But when you've got a plan, when you're not just up there like, I think I'll try a curveball here. When you have a plan and you're following that game plan.
Well, I think he's learning. I think the guy behind the plate that's calling the game is learning. Gomes, remember, he's still a rookie.
Yep.
Catching in this, for the first time as the year goes on. He's got to know the hitters. He gets to know the pitchers a little bit better. They get a little more trust. They get working together. It's all part of the process. And I'll tell you what, they've been on a good roll. There's nothing you can say about the starting pitching but good things in the last month for the Indians. It's actually been quite shocking.
Well, and to go along with what you're talking about, you can't speed up experience. And
True.
So for Yan Gomes and for a lot of these young pitchers, they've got to figure some things out. Sometimes you have to learn the hard way because that's the only way you will learn.
That's right. You learn by failure in this game.
Yep.
And hopefully you can make an adjustment, after you fail a couple times, and you don't have to keep beating yourself over the head doing the same thing time and time again.
1-1 pitch. Davis shoots it foul.
Let's send out some birthday wishes tonight. Regina Simmons of Mayfield Heights is 97. Happy birthday, Regina. James Spear of Canton is 91. And last but not least, our big boy, you wished him happy birthday this morning, Big Max. Max Underwood is 16 today.
Wow.
Max, happy birthday, buddy.
Doesn't seem possible.
I know he's not watching. What's he out driving? Is he out doing something today?
Probably getting more cake.
Well, good for him. Let me ask you, does he wash his car? Or does he take it to the wash? He can't do that.
No, he doesn't do that, but he has washed it. He's not probably as over the top as I am about washing it.
We got to talk, Max, on that.
And you take it to another level over me. I mean, that trick you showed me with the leaf blower, that's off the charts. I might just buy a leaf blower just to finish.
Just for your car?
Just a detail. I won't give your secret away, but that's money. 2 down, bases empty. 2-2 pitch to Rajai Davis. And he flies one into right center field. Walters makes a terrific running catch. He takes extra bags from Davis. And the Tigers go 1-2-3. We head to the home half of the 5th. Cleveland 4, Detroit nothing. By Sunnyside Toyota, a quarter-mile west of Great Northern Mall on the North Olmsted Auto Mile. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by Kia. Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. 4-0 Cleveland, bottom of the 5th inning. And Zach Walters fouls it right back. Swing and a miss, and the count 0-2. Walters struck out his first time up. Upstairs with it, a ball and 2 strikes. And that's outside. Low fastball. It's the same pitch he struck him out on first time up. A low 93-mile-an-hour fastball, well placed. 4th strikeout for the Tigers right-hander. Carlos Santana got the boys on the board in the first with a 2-out, 2-run homer. And then in the 4th, Monty Chisenhall with an RBI double, and then Yan Gomes bloops one in to make it 4-0. Our in-game recap brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. BOURN shoots it back out of play.
And we got to send also along our congratulations to Katie Witham, her husband Richie, celebrating their 3rd wedding anniversary. Katie, if you're down there, congratulations. She's gone. She left.
Too bad it wasn't Dollar Dog Night.
She turned me off.
Down into the corner. Foul ball. They could really have a celebration. It's Dollar Dog Night.
What is that, Friday?
Get after it. See who can eat the most hot dogs on their anniversary.
Watch this ball hook right at the end by a couple of feet. Well, Borney was robbed of a double in his first at-bat by Rajai Davis in left center field. Pulled this one down the line. It just misses.
Upstairs with a fastball. And an elevated fastball takes care of BOURN. That's 5 Ks now for Verlander.
Well, the best deal in town for families is the KeyBank Kids Value Ticket. It's available every game, and each kid receives $15 for free to use on concessions or merchandise. Visit Indians.com/kidsvalue and purchase your tickets today.
Two down, Jose Ramirez singled and scored in the first, flied to left in the 3rd. Verlander about to make his 75th pitch of the night. And back out of play.
And in games that we've seen Verlander pitch against the Indians, that's not many going into the 5th inning.
No.
I've seen the Indians have him at 100 pitches.
Absolutely.
Or more coming into that 5th inning. So it's very tidy for him. He's only given up 5 hits, walked 1, struck out 5.
Well, and I think one of the reasons is that right there. We've seen him use his fastball more tonight than we have in a lot of the starts we've seen.
I agree. And you know what? It seems like he gets ahead in the count. He's going inside more with his fastball. Here comes another.
Ramirez drives it to deep left. Martinez was playing shallow. It's over his head. And Ramirez strolls into second base with a 2-out double. Martinez was playing shallow, trying to take that opposite field slap hit away. But Ramirez got on top of that one and really juiced it.
He gave him too much swinging room, you know, where he could drive it. It was elevated a little bit. Watch the pitch and the location. See it go away, and it was about belt high, and it was easy for him to get to. If he gets that pitch down a little bit, he hits that line drive right to Martinez like he did his last time up. But he elevated it, and Ramirez got it over his head. He was able to drive it a little bit easier for him. Now that ball was elevated. It wasn't high enough where he couldn't get on top of it. Another opportunity. Add on.
Low and away, ball one.
Middle part of ball games are games like this when you can put teams away. When you can get a run here. When he had 2 outs, struck out the first 2 guys. You add one on, it takes a lot of steam away from a ball club.
Pitch inside for a strike. Brantley 0 for 2, but he came in with a 6-game hitting streak. 10 hits in 26 at-bats in his previous 6 games. Brantley leads the Indians with 85 runs batted in. And he's picked up 20 of those RBI in his last 29 games played. So he's just been consistent and steady all season long, whether it's been average, whether it's been driving in runs from a productivity standpoint.
Yeah, you want consistency, you're looking at him. And for Michael, nothing speeds up on him. He slows everything down.
Outside, 3-1. Ramirez, the runner at second base, you see him there. He takes off for third, and Brantley hits a ground ball to second. KINSLER gobbles it up, and the inning is over. 5 complete. Cleveland 4, Detroit nothing. 4-0 as we head now to inning number 6. Now here's how things look right now. There are your division leaders on the left, and then you've got the wild card. The Indians sit 5 back in the wild card and 5.5 back in the division. There's still a lot of possibilities out there for the Indians, but they have to win.
To keep it simple, bingo. I was just going to say, you know what? Worry about yourself. Win every game. Win every series. Do what you have to do. It'll take care of itself. That's what they did so well last year, late in the year, in September.
You know, you hate to ever, during a baseball season, you never want to say, boy, this right here. Unless it's game 160, 161, you never want to say it's a must-win game. But I think in the context of this particular game, okay, is it must-win? No. But if the Indians don't win, then that means they need to win somewhere else and then get help. When you're playing a team in front of you, you got to take them down as many times as you can. And since you lost the first 2, their best hope now is to split and get out of here right where they started when the series began.
Turns out being a 2-game swing for any team that's in front of you, it's in your division and you're playing.
KINSLER tees off, goes to deep left field. Brantley back on the track, pulls it down. 1 down here in the 6th as Danny Salazar continues to sail along. Nice play made by Michael Brantley. This is typical Dr. Smooth. I thought it was over his head, and he just glides right back and makes it look easy. Torrey Hunter is 0 for 2. He steps in now. To center field, that'll drop, and Torrey Hunter has himself a 1-out single, and that snaps an 0 for 13 slump for Hunter. All right, Miguel Cabrera is 2 for 2, but neither ball has he hit hard.
Good pitch there. Bloops in. There's a chuckle. Okay. Another breaking ball. Blue pit over Santana's head. Another chuckle. What do I have to do to get this guy out? You know what? If he gets another one, we keep him bloop singles. Once he gets on the base, he can't run anyway, so. He has a tough time with that bad ankle, a bad right ankle, turning and staying on his backside and driving the ball. The home run, the first home run he hit the other day, I think his last home run before that was August 3rd. He hasn't been driving the ball, but I'll tell you what, he can still go the other way.
Well, I found it hard to believe that Monday was the first multi-home run game of the season for Cabrera.
Yeah. Now remember, those first 2 hits, those blue pits were both away, both very good pitches. So knock him back off the plate. You've got to go inside. You just can't stay away. Make him conscious of the inside part of the plate. If you don't, he cuts that 17-inch plate into a 9-inch plate and looks away for everything.
Well, and as you said I believe, it was in the series opener, if you're going to go into Cabrera, you have to go in off the plate, because if you miss in on the plate,
he can hurt
he's quick and he'll hit it out like he did Monday.
Well, he hit a changeup out when they tried to throw off Corey Kluber. But if you're going to go in and you're going to go away and miss in off the plate, right now he's looking away for everything because you can see the pitches he's reaching. There you go. He's been away. There's nothing wrong with going in there. Now this time, go in and go in farther. This one was down. See, that wasn't even inside. But the swing he took at it looked like it was. Still have him down on the count 1-2. You can go way in off the plate if you want. There you go. Gomes called it. Gomes called it.
He didn't want it, though.
No, he didn't. That's the pitch I would have went with, a good fastball inside. You have to make a hitter, especially a guy that's as good as Cabrera, that makes adjustments. And there's no one way to pitch him. But, boy, get him conscious at least to the inside part of the plate or he'll wear you out. I don't care if you throw 105.
And that changeup is swung out and missed. That was well executed by Danny Salazar, his 4th strikeout of the night. This one had some wicked action, too.
Well, check it out on our Wendy's slow motion replay. There you'll see the spin. And that ball just dives down out of the zone, gets him to swing. Look at him. Pretty good pitch. He'll be back. Right now he's filing that in his catalog in the back of that head of his.
Now Victor Martinez. Victor sent a line drive single to right in the 4th inning. Martinez drove in more runs in the month of August than anybody. He had 30 ribbies in August. Danny Salazar been very efficient here tonight. He's retired the side in order twice. He's faced the minimum 3 times thanks to a double play. Pulls it foul. A ball and 2 strikes.
Why don't good hitters just roll over on that ball and it stay fair, where you can grab it and touch first base? They always get the bounces that goes foul and they get another swing.
I had a buddy who used to tell me good players get the good breaks. And, you know, I'll be darned if he's not right.
Yeah.
It seems that way, doesn't it?
Sure does.
To center field, Michael Bourn on a dead sprint, runs it down. Nice play in center to end the inning. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th, 4-0 Cleveland. All right, time now for our AT&T fan photo of the game. And remember, you can tweet your photos to us using the hashtag STOFanPhoto for a chance to have your picture shown during our telecast. It's all courtesy of AT&T. Carlos Santana will lead off here in the bottom of the 6th. I guess in some regards, it's no real surprise that the Indians have scored 4 runs tonight against Justin Verlander. His career ERA against the Indians is .431, and that is his highest ERA against any opponent that he's had at least more than one start against.
Well, they've had their battles with this guy over the years. This year, Verlander 1-1 in his 3 starts.
Up the middle. Oh, what a diving stop by KINSLER, and he throws him out.
Boy, oh boy.
Man alive, that was a highlight reel play by Ian KINSLER. He just plumb stole a hit from Santana.
Yeah, I was getting ready to mark base hit. I thought that ball was by him, and it looked like it was from our vantage point. But I'll tell you what, that's a terrific play, and from his knees, gets rid of it quickly and in time to get Santana, so he takes a base hit away. Wow, that's about stretched out as much as you can be. Way to go. They've had a couple of nice defensive plays tonight to take hits away from Indians.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. If you look at the career numbers for Justin Verlander against the Indians, he's made the most starts in his career against Cleveland. He has the most wins in his career against Cleveland. The most losses in his career have come against Cleveland. Logged the most innings. And he's got the highest ERA. So familiarity breeds contempt. Now Lonnie Chisenhall, who doubled into the corner and came around to score back in the 4th.
Well, the Tiger defense, I count 4 hits that taken away from Indians hitters. 2 against Michael Bourn, the one in left center, and then the bunt. Castellanos made a nice play. Kipnis, his first at bat, the left fielder. Martinez on the running catch. And that one right there with KINSLER.
Out of play, 1-2. Swing and a miss, high cheese, and that's strikeout number 6 for Justin Verlander. The Indians go 1-2-3. Find out what's happening with the Cleveland Browns from the man in charge as they prepare for Sunday's opener against the Steelers. It all happens on Browns Insider with Mike Pettin tomorrow, right after Indians Live here on Sports Time Ohio. J.D. Martinez going to lead off for Detroit. J.D. Martinez 0 for 2. He has struck out twice. Might have broke his bat, got inside on him. You know, we were talking earlier, Rick, and Jason Kipnis hustled home to score back in that fourth inning. And offensively, the challenges this team has been through this year. And I was talking to him before the game today, and, you know, players, they don't live in the vacuum. They understand what's going on, and especially in today's day and age of social media. He recognizes he's not having the kind of year that, A, he expects of himself, and B, that others who watch the team expected him to have. But he said, you know what? I can't worry about it. I can't try to hit 20 home runs in the last month. He said, I'm trying to do everything I can that's within my power. So if that's running the bases hard, which we saw right there, if it's stealing a base, if it's laying down a bunt to get a base hit, you have to love that attitude that, you know, I might not be having the kind of year that I or anybody else wants me to have, but I'm going to make the most of whatever games we have left this year and give everything that I have.
Play the game the way it should be. You play it hard every day. The numbers will fall where they may. When you have a year like you had last year, people expect you to be better the next year. If you're not, they say it's a failure. That's them. You don't get into that thinking. You play the game to win the game for that day. And whatever you can do for your team and your manager and your fellow teammates, you go out there and do what you can do, whether it's a sacrifice bunt, whether it's a walk, whether it's a base hit, whether it's a home run, or whether it's a great defensive play.
Yeah.
That's how the game's played. You don't worry what people think you should be doing.
1-2 pitch. Hey, it might not mean anything, but look at Ian Kinsler tonight. He goes and steals a hit from Santana to start that sixth inning. That might not be anything. But at the end of the day, they might look back and say that was a big play, kept them from starting an inning. You do whatever you can, as you say.
His pitcher thinks it's a big play. It gets the first out of the inning.
Danny Salazar, meanwhile, takes care of the first out of this inning by himself. He has struck out J.D. Martinez all 3 times tonight, and that gives him 5 total Ks here this evening. Time for another Mazda game break. Here's Al Pulowski.
Hey, Matt, let's head to Baltimore. The Reds taking on the O's. Chris Davis leaving the yard here. 2-run homer back in the 4th inning. That's the 25th of the year. Gives Baltimore a 4-0 lead. Meanwhile, Miguel Gonzalez, a 1-hit shutout through 7 for the O's. Matt?
All right, thanks, Al. Nick Castellanos 0 for 2 tonight. He has struck out, grounded out. In tight. Now the count 3-0. Taking all the way, that's in for a strike. That is laced into left center field, and that'll be extra bases. Castellanos will stop at second base with a 1-out double.
Yeah, you get the count in your favor, and you better take advantage of a fastball when Salazar's pitching like he is tonight. He hasn't walked anybody, so there you go. We're up 4. I'm going to challenge you. Put the ball in play. he did what he has to. He smoked that ball into left center field. For Castellanos, that's his 28th double. Well, that goes to show you what a hitter can do when you know he knows what's coming, or pretty much knows what's coming with the fastball in a situation like this.
Eugenio Suarez loops one toward right. Zach Walters coming in, dives and makes the catch. Terrific play in shallow right field by Walters for out number 2.
Second nice catch by Walters today. He's coming in. You don't want that thing to fall. He's going to leave his feet. He's going to make the play. He takes a hit away from Suarez. There you go. Keep the man at second base. That'll be out number 2. Good play.
Now Brian Holiday 1 for 2 on the night. Down low.
What a difference a night makes. This is only the 4th time that they've had a runner in scoring position and an opportunity to try and drive him in compared to last night. They had 30 the first 2 games, 30 opportunities.
Salazar at 90 pitches as he tries to work through this 7th inning. Wow, look at that number. 55 have been mid-90s or
just
above.
like that.
Hello.
You got to love it. He's commanded the fastball. He hasn't walked anybody. He's kept it down. He's moved it in and out. And he's mixed his pitches well. Been very good tonight.
The only other time Salazar has pitched 7 innings this year came out in San Francisco back in April when he allowed 1 run on 5 hits through 7 innings of work. Two 1 pitch. Back out of play. In that game, Salazar made 101 pitches. So he's been better than that tonight, and he's ahead of schedule. If he can take care of Brian Holiday here. The 2-2. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. A half dozen Ks for Danny Salazar and 7 shutout innings. The Indians lead it 4-0. And the 7th inning stretch is brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Life is hard. Buying a car shouldn't be. Look in at Progressive Field from our Panini's Overstuffed cam. Cleveland on top 4-0. Danny Salazar firing a gem here tonight. And the Indians offensively, a 2-run homer from Santana in the first to get them going, and then they added on something they couldn't do last night that ultimately proved very costly. But they added on in the fourth inning. An RBI double by Lonnie Chisenhall scored Jason Kipnis, and then Yan Gomes with a bloop RBI hit to plate Chisenhall. And here is Gomes to lead off the seventh.
How about his last base hit in RBI? Was it a thing of beauty?
Well, we loved it. The funny thing was, if you saw Gomes' reaction once he reached first base, he looked disgusted.
Never be mad on an RBI
That's
single.
what I was thinking, but he looked like, oh, man.
Yeah. Being a little tough on himself, huh?
Well, here, take another look if you missed it. He didn't hit it hard or far, but he placed it perfectly.
It's got to be about 130 feet.
Now watch his reaction. Oh, boy. Oh, jeez. Are you kidding me? Oh, man. He looks angry.
Well, that's okay. Maybe on the inside it's something different. Maybe when he looks at the outcome.
Hey, that's all that matters in the end.
That's an extra run. That was the fourth run of the game, which is very big. There you go. Hit it double.
Hit it hard and down into the corner.
Go.
J.D. Martinez off balance, kind of flips it to the cutoff man, and Gomes slides into second base with a ringing double.
Let's see if he's happy now.
That'll get a smile.
No, it won't. It's going to be mad he didn't hit a triple. Well, I'll tell you, there you go. He wanted more. Well, this time he goes out and he gets it. It's a third double today. This pitch is up. Looks like a four-seamer to me. Ooh, and it was coming in. Gomes likes that ball down, but he got on top of that one. And you have to go ahead and try. You see, he's stopping and he's just throwing on the run. He's not going to get anything on it. So there's your leadoff double. Now, time to execute, to add on one more time. Get him over, get him in.
Jason Giambi had a base hit his first time up, banged into a double play to end the fourth inning, and takes a strike. Verlander looked like he had a tough time seeing the signs. You can see him motioning to Holiday. I can't see your fingers. He might have been trying to hide the sign so well that he hit it from Verlander as well. Now the 0-1. And Giambi fouls it out of play. Jason Giambi, he might only have 7 hits on the year, but out of those 7 hits, 2 have left the yard and 1 went for a double. He still has some sting in the bat. All the way to the backstop. Holiday must have been crossed up.
No question.
He must have been thinking it was going to be an off-speed pitch because that fastball just whistled right by him.
You just mentioned it. He is having a tough time seeing the fingers. So all of a sudden now he thinks that he's getting a breaking ball, and he throws the express right by him. So Verlander saw a fastball. Holiday called a breaking ball or something off speed. It gets by him. It's I would assume a wild pitch.
Yeah, it almost has to be, I guess.
Yeah, wild pitch, and there you go. You get your runner to third base. So now they're going to have to bring the infield in, or at least halfway.
Yeah, Gomes not a speedster, so they'll come halfway. Giambi goes down swinging. 1 away. 7th strikeout for Verlander as we take a look at our injury report, brought to you by the attorneys at Elkinoak. Homer Bailey, that's pretty much the final nail in the Cincinnati Reds' coffin this year. Their playoff hopes were on life support anyway, but after falling 6 games below 500, they're 9 out in the Central and losing Bailey for the rest of the year. Foul back by Walters. You saw Atlanta. Atlanta,
they've been a strange team.
They're 7 out in the East, but they're only a game and a half out in the wild card.
Yep.
Milwaukee's the team you got to keep an eye on, because coming into tonight, they had lost 7 in a row. Only 2 out in the Central, and they're currently holding a wild card spot, but when will their free fall end? Swing and a miss, 0-2. Atlanta won earlier. They beat Philly 7-4. Cardinals shut out Pittsburgh 1-0.
They're doing everything right now.
Milwaukee's getting hammered by the Cubs 6-1. Grounded to first, and Gomes unable to come home. 2 down. Thought maybe he'd be on the contact play, but he just doesn't probably have the speed to put it on there.
It's tough to put the contact play on with your catcher. You do it with guys that can run a little bit.
So there's a look at how it stands. But again, Milwaukee's getting drubbed by the Cubs. That could be their 8th straight loss unless they rally. You just wonder, when a team gets into a spiral like that, it can be tough to put the brakes on.
Yeah, you got to find a way to do it. They were in first all year long from, I think, April 6th up until about 3 or 4 days ago.
Breaking ball downstairs to Michael Bourn. Michael 0 for 3. Texas, Kansas City, they're scoreless in the 4th inning at Kauffman Stadium. Two balls and a strike. Verlander wants to talk to his catcher, Brian Holiday. By the way, talking about Cincinnati, they're losing to Baltimore tonight, 6-0. The Reds have 1 hit in 8 innings.
Oh, boy. Fell apart in a hurry. I remember when we played them, we beat them here that first game, and then they rattled off 3 straight, and they were feeling pretty good about themselves.
Doesn't seem like it was that long ago either.
It wasn't.
Low 3-1. And the Reds were kind of in the same spot the Indians were in at that time. They're kind of hanging around that 500 mark, trying to put together a run. It just
at that point, though, they were like 28-20 in their own division. You know, they were playing good against their own division, and they were getting back to get into that division, and everything fell apart.
Verlander can't decide on a sign with Holiday. Bourne steps out.
Well, let's see. I don't know if he wants to go with a fastball to Michael here on the 3-1 count.
Yan Gomes, the runner at third base.
He did. He challenged the boy, and he reared back, and guess what? He had 95 in the tank.
Yeah, it was still in there.
Yes, it was. Believe it or not, he's been throwing anywhere from 92 to 94.
His first pitch of the game was 90 miles an hour, but then we saw him get up to 93, touch 94, and on that one,
he
95.
needed that one. And let's see if he comes right back and tries it again. There it comes.
Right back up the middle.
And there it goes.
Bourn meets that 95-mile-an-hour fastball with the barrel of his bat, and the Indians have a 5-0 lead.
See, that's that right there. That add-on there is just beautiful.
Well, especially with a 2-out RBI backbreaker.
He tried to go in there and throw 2 in a row by him, and Michael sort of lulled him in there. And he just took a nice swing, short to the baseball, right back up the middle, and I think that pitch was a little farther away than the pitch before, to be honest with you. And Bourne gets a base hit. He makes it 5-0.
How about Michael Bourne in the clutch? Pretty good. 12 ribbies and a 343
He was good
average.
like that for the Indians last year in the second half.
Now Jose Ramirez gaps one right center. That'll go to the wall. Bourne coming around third. They're going to wave him home. Kinsler has no play. 6-0 Cleveland. Jose Ramirez with his third hit of the night, his second double. And the Indians double their pleasure for the third time tonight. 2 in the first, 2 in the fourth, 2 more here in the seventh.
I think that base hit from Bourne just took it out of Verlander. I think he was a little frustrated because he throws one right down the middle. And Ramirez, he made him pay. He got a double to left field. He left the fastball out over the plate last time. Bourne scoring, and they break the back of Justin Verlander. And that's all for him tonight.
They chase him with 6 runs on 9 hits. Verlander heads for the dugout. The Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen has been made by Detroit manager Brad Ausmus, and he's going for a left-hander.
Well, 1 game remains in this 4-game series. It'll take place tomorrow. Great seats still remain. Start at $10 when you purchase online. 7:05. Indians going to try and close this one out and see if they can split the series tomorrow. If they can close this one out, it's 6-0.
Pat McCoy, left-hander, on to face Michael Brantley. Back-to-back 2-out RBI hits here in the 7th inning to chase Justin Verlander. Oh, a liner, a vicious line drive into right field. Coming around third, Ramirez will score. 3 in the 7th. And the Indians hang a 7 spot on Verlander tonight. Close the books on the Detroit right-hander. as Pat McCoy can't stop the bleeding.
Tell you what, that ball, you could have hung clothes on it to dry, man. That was a liner. Watch it right over the head of Kinsler, and that thing didn't move. That was a tracer. That had sparks coming off the back of it. I mean, that's about as hard as you can hit a ball.
Michael now has a hit in 7 straight games.
Look at Victor. Victor was smiling, saying, man, that ball was hammered.
Good hitters.
I want to hit one that hard.
Good hitters like good
They
hitting.
appreciate that.
Yes,
they do. No doubt.
Now Carlos Santana clobbered a 2-run homer back in the first. This is off the end of the bat. And the center fielder Davis has it. That'll end the inning. But the Indians end the 7th with a flourish, and they lead it 7-0. Telecast is presented by authority of the Cleveland Indians and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care, coming up next. Going to the 8th inning, and Danny Salazar stays in the game for the Tribe. They've got right-hander getting loose in the bullpen. Salazar's career high was 7 2/3 innings, and that came last year against these Detroit Tigers. Tyler Holt.
Oh, I remember that game. How about it? But he's been terrific tonight. He's thrown 72% strikes before this inning started. He's had 10 swings and misses. 8 outs on 3 pitches or less.
There's the double barrel action in the Tribe pin. Davis 0 for 2. He has flied to center, flied to right. Swung on and missed, and Danny Salazar has struck out 7 Tigers. As promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Danny has pitched so effectively. He started it with his fastball, using his fastball in, out, and then that slider, the changeup.
He's mixed his pitches beautifully tonight. It's been fun to watch. I mean, he's given up 7 hits, but you know, a couple of broken bats. He's been terrific. It's been fun to watch. Going with the new, or I should say the old school look, a little sanitaries and the stirrups.
And you know what, Rick? The fact that he's doing it head-to-head against the guy that was kind of his idol, the guy that he looked up to, Justin Verlander, across the way, I think that makes it probably even a little more special for Salazar.
Those two matched up back in April on the 17th, you know, and Danny had a lead, but then he ended up giving up a 3-run homer to Ian Kinsler. You know, and he ended up leaving that ball game trailing in it 5-3, and it was against Verlander. He took the loss. Verlander got the win. So, yeah, I'm sure he's thrilled. He was looking forward to the matchup.
And a fastball strike.
That was the game I remember. Verlander went 5. And left, gave up the 3 and threw 113 pitches in those 5 innings.
On the right side, that's going to be out of play. Well, if you were watching our telecast in Kansas City during that lengthy rain delay we had, Katie Witham had a terrific sit-down interview with Danny Salazar in which he showed off his magic tricks. And he is pretty good with the sleight of hand. And that has been on display here tonight as well with his pitching skills. 10 pitches, all he needs to set the Tigers down 1-2-3 here in the 8th. Saturday, it's a baseball doubleheader beginning with the Giants taking on the Tigers. Then the Kansas City Royals go up against the New York Yankees in a game you'll see only on Fox Sports 1. Starts Saturday, 12:30 Eastern on Fox. Continues at 4 Eastern on Fox Sports 1, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. New pitcher for Detroit. And it's left-hander Robbie Ray. Don Kelly's now at first base. The new second baseman is Hernan Perez. And Stephen Moya is now in right field. Robbie Ray delivers low, ball 1 to Jason Kipnis. Kip walked and scored in the 4th. He's only had 21 games prior to tonight in the number 5 spot in the lineup, but he has batted .291 with a dozen runs scored before tonight in that 5 hole. 1 and 2. Robbie Ray fires and a swing and a miss. He strikes him out. 1 away. In-game box score brought to you by your Hyundai dealers. Indians have had a lot of different people involved tonight, and that's a good sign. Especially, talk about Jose Ramirez at the top of the order in that 2 hole.
Yeah, the
2
nice
runs
game.
scored, Ribby.
I love it. They got the lead early. Santana, for the 3rd straight game, has given the Indians some runs in the 1st inning. Always nice.
Monty Chisenhall had an RBI double. Outside. Going to count 2-0. Series finale tomorrow night will be Trevor Bauer against Max Scherzer. And we'll have it for you once again here on Sports Time Ohio. 7 o'clock start. And it's 3-1. Full count. There's Trevor Bauer, who will get the start opposite Max Scherzer, this reigning Cy Young Award winner, and having a good season again. I mean, there are some who are trying to make the case that he could win the Cy Young again this year. Fair ball down the right field line. Lonnie's going for another double. And twice tonight, he has gone to right field for extra bases.
What would you call that, a floater?
I'm not sure.
I mean, because that ball, it was
in slow motion.
And Kelly made the jump. I mean, it was a nice attempt. His timing was great, but it just over the outstretched arm of Kelly. Watch, it just floats over his head. He went down and got a breaking ball down and away. He goes up and comes down, kept his feet in bounds, but the ball was fair. So a double for Chisenhall. What's that, 5 for the Indians tonight? 2, 3, yes, 5 doubles.
Yan Gomes has one of those doubles. He started the 7th with a 2-base hit to left field, and that started a 3-run rally for Cleveland. Outside corner, a called strike. High fastball. Robbie Ray's 0-2 pitch is up and away. Indians trying to win their 40th home game of the season. And that would also give them the upper hand in the season series against Detroit. Tigers have actually played better
here
on the road than they have at home.
Well, yes, they played better in this ballpark. They have played better on the road. They have the most wins in the American League on the road.
41
victories. Right.
Gomes golfs it. Left field coming in, and J.D. Martinez makes the running catch. 2 down. Don't miss the explosive final season of Sons of Anarchy, premiering Tuesday, September 9th, only on FX. Jesus Aguilar is going to get a pinch hit appearance here. Bat for Jason Giambi, who was 1 for 3 tonight. Now low for ball 1. Danny Salazar wants to complete this one. He's going to try to finish what he started.
That's perfect. Do it.
A few more folks here tonight than last night. The paid attendance, 11,739. And the 2-0 swung on and missed. Lonnie Chisenhall with a second double of the night at second base with 2 outs. And now it's even on Aguilar at 2-2. Now the 2-2. Slowly chopped towards third. And the inning is over. We'll go to the 9th. 7-0 Cleveland. Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. Coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. Danny Salazar has already pitched a career-high 8 shutout innings. Now he'll go for his first complete game and potential shutout. But he'll have to go through the big boys. Well, let's see. Are they still in the game, though? No. Miguel Cabrera's out. We'll get a pinch hitter for him. We know Victor Martinez was out. J.D. Martinez is still in batting third. James McCann, right-handed batter.
Well, great time to get your young kids at bats. Games like this, that's why you call them up. Get some pitchers, some innings. This ends up turning into a spring training game like game number 1 did. So the perfect opportunity. See Salazar, CG.
The most pitches Danny Salazar has ever thrown in a game, 112.
What a boy.
Jam job to second. Kipnis throws it over, 1 away. Looking back at our keys to the game, courtesy of Wayside Furniture. Well, they got some O against Detroit, and that was huge. And when this team scores, because of how well they've been pitching, they win. And Verlander tonight, it wasn't a typical Justin Verlander outing against Cleveland. Not based on a number of the games we've seen him pitch against the Tribe. He pitched more with his fastball tonight, had some success at times, but the Indians were able to score in multiple innings against him.
Yes, they did.
Wasn't just one big inning or one big flurry. There's a base hit for Moya, who got a base hit the other night in his first big league at bat. He turns, but he'll hold with a single.
There you go. That was down, too. It looked like he just golfed it, slapped it the other way.
Tell you that one of the reasons that Danny Salazar has an opportunity for a complete game shutout tonight, he's been able to record 11 outs on 3 pitches or less.
Yeah, no walks. Danny's great when you pitch. Any pitcher is. He's been. You don't walk anybody. He had another start where he had a terrific game with no walks. Texas, 6 innings, 4 hits, no walks. His last start, Kansas City. Of course, we said the rain took him out of that ball game with no walks.
Fouled third base side. Look at how efficient he is.
Yeah. I mean, he went through the lineup the first 3 times, 32, 34, 36 pitches.
Well, that 10-pitch 8th inning is another reason why Terry Francona had no reservations about sending him back out for the 9th. Now the 1-1. Checked on a ball up high. Swung on and missed. He pulled the string on him, something fierce. 2-2. Watch the action on this pitch.
Wow, good pitch. Good pitch.
Talked about his sleight of hand. That was a now you see it, now you don't. The 2-2. High heat, got him. Number 8 for Salazar. 2 down in the 9th. Nick Castellanos doubled his last time up. Salazar just rears back. How about that? 97 still left in his tank.
Yeah, he feels it, man. Air it out.
Just missed, and it's 1-1. A career high in pitches thrown tonight for Danny Salazar. Career high in innings. Now looking for the final out. Almost hit him, spun him out of the way. Two and one to count. The 2-1. Out of play to the right. And Salazar just one strike away. For any young pitcher especially, it's an important milestone to get that complete game under their belt. Swing and a miss. He strikes him out to end the game. Danny Salazar with his first career complete game shutout victory. What an impressive night for the Indians right-hander. He strikes out 9 Tigers. He gives up just 8 hits in the ballgame. And the Indians cruise to a 7-0 win over Detroit. Danny goes to 6-6 on the year. Justin Verlander takes the loss. He's lost more times to the Indians than any other team in baseball. Tribe beats him for the 16th time in his career. On the year, Verlander now 12-12. Loss drops Detroit to 76-63. Cleveland goes to 71-66. Time now for our key play of the game, brought to you by KeyBank.
Well, let's go back after they had a 2-0 lead. Always important to add on in that 4th inning. We're going to get Chisenhall doubling it down in the corner. In comes Kipnis. He will score from first base head first. The throwing error allows Chiz to go to third base. They end up getting him in. That's another run. Look at this base hit from Gomes. Infield playing in. That's all it took. That was their 4th run. They didn't need that, but I'll tell you, it's always nice to add on against a good offense. That's going to be our KeyBank Key Play of the game, brought to you by KeyBank.
Impressive. They got their doors blown off in Game 1. They got their hearts ripped out in Game 2. But this resilient bunch bounces back to take this one by an impressive final score of 7-0. We're back with some final thoughts next.